Yeah, 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 yeah.
And this week on the Weekly Check-In.
I don't know if you heard, this is just a side note, is that Georgia and other GOP majority states have said that they are stopping unemployment benefits. So what this is going to look like, I'm pretty sure Atlanta's not going to be the party city anymore like it used to for the last couple of months. But what this looks like and how this will affect, communities, poor communities, communities of color, I don't know if I'm necessarily worried, but I know it's going to be a dent in it.
Oh, well, to speak, my sister lives in Georgia. She lives in Rex, Georgia. My beau lives in Macon, Georgia. So I'm getting a education about the state fairly quickly. I spent all summer there last year. And that's why I told you that they were going to be able to carry it, because I was literally there and I watched it and I was like, oh, I can see what's happening. And so I think that this has larger political implications for Black women, and one Black woman in particular, in Keisha Lance Bottoms, right? That the officer being reinstated after she pulled him, the idea that the Black community is going to in some way suffer because of the shutdown of unemployment. And let's be clear that this strategy is not a new one, right? To not integrate the schools, and they shut down all recreation, right? To stop Black folks from getting the much deserved help that they need, they are decided to shut down unemployment altogether, right? Which the legislature at the federal level may find to be unconstitutional, because there may be, to Kaia's point, a new set of law being created here, because now this may result and then the federal government suing the state of Georgia behind it. So I think that there's lots of legal ramifications and a lot of political ramifications, especially for Black women, for Keisha Lance Bottoms, for Stacey Abrams, for Black women that are in the Georgia legislature, right? Especially the Black young woman that was arrested when they signed the bill that stopped the Black folks from voting. We're going to see there's going to be a larger political fallout from this. And what I think Georgia is forgetting is that this is not 1960, and that they do not have the same level of stalwarts that are going to practice the high level of extremism necessary to maintain these types of practices.
Do you think, Dame or Sharice, do you think this is the end of Keisha Lance Bottoms' political career, or perhaps the beginning of something else?
I think it's the beginning. I think it's the beginning of something else. I don't think it's the end. I just think she got to the point where she knew and knows her limitations in Atlanta, and also how they were starting to look. The Dr. Sharice's point, they were about to start trying to make her the fall guy for a bunch of the stuff that they're doing legislatively out there that's going wrong. And that's going to end up biting her on the butt, because they're going to make it look like it's her that did it. They're going to make it like it's Stacey Abrams that did it. Like, they are 100%, the Republicans in Atlanta are trying to set those women up to be the fall guys for a bunch of this radical legislation that they're making out there, and all these different changes and policies. But I think she's going to probably either I think she might end up in the Biden administration in some capacity, or she might end up doing some more stuff with Stacey Abrams. I'm not sure, but I definitely don't think this is the end of her, and we'll see her. But I just think she had, I was going over her tenure as the mayor, and she came into it. It was kind of insane. She had one of the most insane runs, because she comes into it with the voter suppression stuff. She comes into it with the crazy election stuff. She comes into it with COVID. Then she comes into it with the Black Lives Matter, uprisings and everything. And so it was like she was dealing with a lot back to back. So she had one of the most tumultuous runs as the mayor of Atlanta. And I think it probably became just a bit overwhelming and too much. And then at the end of it, when now they're coming with all this voter suppression, legislation and stuff, she probably just felt like it was a bit too much. It's a bit too much to deal with. And she's probably trying to find other ways to combat the monster.
Mm. Yeah, my grandmother used to always say, you have to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And I think, to Dame's point, she recognizes it's time to fold if she wants to continue to have a political career, because we know what they do to you when you do not fold them when they say to fold them, right? And our example of that is Andrew Gillum in Florida, right? Is that what I mean? Because Andrew's sexuality was not in any way a secret. If we look at Andrew, which is why his wife didn't leave him, right? Because it was not a secret. Anybody that went to Florida A&M was very, very much aware. Right.
I went to FAMU. That's why I'm doing that.
Right. Any Rattler knew,
And
right? Any
too.
Rattler knew that was not unusual, which is why his wife didn't leave him, right? Mm-hmm. We also know that there was no drugs in his system. So this whole idea about him being on drugs, that didn't even stick because there was no drugs in his system in the situation. And so I guess my point to you is she's already, and let's also be very clear, Keisha Lance Bottoms, Andrew Gillum, they all went to FAMU around the same time. They're contemporaries. They know one another. They have a very good friend that's in the political science department at my alma mater, Howard. And so it's a tight-knit group. There's only so many of you. And so I guess my point is that she's already seen what happens when they tell you to fold them and you don't. Right. And to me, at the press conference, she looked sad. She looked uncomfortable. And I really felt that it was you hold them or you fold them. And she made the decision to fold them so that her political career doesn't end.
Well, and I would like to say for me, there's a huge difference between Gillum and Bottoms is that I think, what it is, the information that I understand that came to me is that Gillum was what's this term that they use? Too arrogant, too confident, and they had too much stuff on him. But he thought that he was in this protected space because he had become in some ways the Democratic darling when he challenged DeSantis. Yeah.
Well, if we wanted, and I guess that is, I think, a great segue, or I think that's a great comparison, because Black women always know they can't get too arrogant. Mm-hmm. Black women always know in politics that things will come back and bite them. And let's just be clear, she got a nigga for a husband. I mean, Keisha Lance Bottoms' husband ain't no, he ain't no shiny example of an American. I mean, he a nigga, right? I mean, she came out and said, y'all mad about me with a mask. I'm fighting the man I'm in the bed. I mean, I'm fighting the man that I lay down with every night about wearing a mask. So I know I'm fighting my own children because they want to go out and I'm the regular Black mom, like the rest of y'all, trying to deal with this situation when it comes to COVID. So when we think about her, we think about her rise, and we think about her political maturation. Black women know that they can't get too arrogant. And I agree that I don't even think that Andrew Gillum, in my opinion, was too arrogant. He just started functioning like white boys. And as soon as you start functioning like a white boy, then you too arrogant. Then you're too whatever. I don't think that he was any more arrogant or any more self-assertive than anyone else that has run.
But exactly what you said. Now, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that was the word heard, that the establishment and the powers that be, not just the Republicans, but the white establishment in Florida, the Democratic Party, were like, no, you walking around here, you having all these side entanglements, you out here just feeling yourself. No, you can't. We can do that, but you can't. I think, and honestly, I think, this is my humble opinion. I have no evidence for this. Other things that I speak on, I have evidence for. I have no evidence for this. I think that they done got her husband caught up. And because I've written a book on the Congressional Black Caucus. You're talking about Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Yeah, okay. I think that they have something on her husband, not necessarily on her, but definitely on her husband. And the reason I say this to you, Kaia, because you are editing my book, they do the same thing to the Congressional Black Caucus members. If you don't pull back this piece of legislation, I can't remember now, it's escaping me because I'm academically tapped out, but there was a Congressional Black Caucus member that they were like, you pull this legislation back. He was like, nah. Okay. The IRS then started doing an investigation on his wife the next week.
Oh yeah, that's classic. I mean,
right?
That's a classic strategy.
That's a classic strategy. So what I'm saying is that, to Dame's point, I don't think this is the end, but I think that she understood for it not to be the end, she needed to fold them now.
Back up off of it and sit your cup down. I think this is an excellent kind of segue. And I just want to mention, we talked about PPP and scams, But one of the, I would say one of tentacles in terms of this is just how pervasive scamming has become, especially for the millennials and this digital native group, that when employment opportunities run low, scams go high.
If you want to see good news, you don't see on regular TV. From another perspective, something relative to your needs. And we gonna have deep subjects, and we gonna turn the lens. And there's no topic we won't skip, so please don't miss.